Welcome to this webinar on how to use Seerist technology to anticipate and respond to maritime threats. This is really a follow-on, a companion to a webinar we did a few weeks ago from some of our very esteemed experts about the emerging maritime threats that are happening all around the world. And so today is really to look at that through the lens of our Seerist platform, help you understand how you might use our product to help expose, identify, and respond to maritime threats. So to that end, my name is Chris Brosnick. I'm the VP of Product Marketing here at Seerist, and I'm joined by Brett Harith, who is a Client Success Manager, but more importantly, he's a former Navy Special Warfare Intelligence Analyst. And so Brett has a lot of experience in this space, among other things. So Brett will be doing the demo for you in just a couple of minutes here. But I thought what I would do just off the top for those of you that may not be familiar with Seerist, just a little bit about us. We're a global company. We have 10 offices directly and offices that we share with our partners at Control Risks all around the world. 3 years old, just about as a company. We really, we're a company that came from some of the DNA of Control Risks, as well as a company called GeoSpark. But in that 3 years, we already have over 500 customers, which includes a quarter of the Fortune 100, 15% of the Global 2000, and over 50 government agencies. So we're really proud of our accelerating success here, and with our partnership with Control Risks and others and recent accolades, it's been a great time to be here at Seerist. Just as a little overview of what we do in the big picture, and some of this is what you're going to see in action when Brett gives the live demo here. Starting on the right-hand side, we're really all about helping our customers solve their problems. We know in this very dynamic world that we're all in, all of you need to measure, monitor what's happening, increased frequency of things that are happening every single day around the world, and a lot of interdependent data points that need to be connected. So we want to help you solve your problems by organizing the information, providing you with knowledge about events and topics, issues around the world, places where these things are occurring, and understanding what your exposure is for your people, your assets, and your business interests. And then providing our intelligence, and this is really what makes us unique, is the fact that we have the ability to give you foresight to look out on the horizon and say, what's likely to happen over the next couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of months. So, the here and now, reacting to events, getting those alerts, very key as part of what we do. But equally important is being able to give you some predictive sense of what could happen in different types of scenarios and some outlook. So we're proud of the fact that we include both AI-driven, generative AI, and amazing new technology there, but also analyst experience, over 200 analysts around the globe that we draw from our own analysts, as well as our partnership with Control Risks. At the end of the day, it's really there to help you react, respond, be able to manage events and manage situations with your people and your assets. So our platform that you're going to be seeing here, that Brett will be showing you, this is our dashboard that we have that you'll see, our SaaS-based product, but we also have an API. The intelligence, as I mentioned, open source, OSINT intelligence, but also the analyst generated and the finished analysis that they produce, and a range of very unique proprietary models that we have that really set us apart in the industry. Things like our Pulse AI score, which gives you a reading each and every 5 to 10 minute period of what's happening in a specific country, a specific location, and it adjusts that risk reading as events happen, and as we, again, predictively look at what might happen in the future. So a couple of key points here. We collect millions of data points every day. We're looking for things that could impact your interests. Our global analyst network that I mentioned is really key. And the fact that, we have curated content, so not just the raw alerting, but also the so what and the value that comes from knowing that you have a verified piece of information on top of that. And ultimately, our goal is to deliver foresight, insight, and help you take action when you need it most. So, with that as the setup here, I want to remind you, please feel free to enter questions into the chat as we go. As Brett goes through his demo, we're going to leave 5 or 6 minutes at the end for questions. And I'm going to turn it over now to Brett, who is going to take you through the live demo.
Thanks, Braz. I appreciate it. Yeah, so Brett Harris, Client Success Manager here. Been at Seerist for about 3 years now. I primarily are working with our Department of Defense and intelligence community clients. And as Braz mentioned, I did 8 years as a naval intelligence analyst over in Virginia Beach. So a lot of experience with the maritime realm. So for today's demo, we're going to just start out with a few slides, and then I'm going to walk you through three major workflows in the platform and provide you some, real world examples as well as we go through. So the first thing we'll go over is how you can use our events AI model as well as our human verified events to do everything from find, track, and analyze breaking or emerging maritime threats in near real time. I'll also show you how you can use Seerist to monitor maritime threats within a specific area of interest to essentially help you maintain and improve your situational awareness, right? So using the platform as an indications and warnings tool. And then finally, using our control risk analysis as well as those human verified events. I'm going to show you how you can gain some additional context as well as do things like look at historical trends and maybe do some pattern analysis to understand, strategic or regional ramifications for those maritime threats around the world. Next slide, please. Just a little more about our data, and this is our sources overview here. So we are ingesting a huge stream of data, as mentioned, and as you can see here, bringing in about 40,000 global sources that spans over 100 plus languages. So you're going to see about 200,000 unique pieces of information aggregated daily in the platform in near real time. For our news sources, we're bringing in everything from, international to localized news sources, as well as some other of the sources you can see on the right-hand side of the slide. It's not shown on the slide, but during the Q&A section later, I can go over some more of the maritime specific sources at the end of the live demo as well. Next slide, please. All right, I won't go through all of these, but just to show you kind of the wide coverage as for our social media sources available on the platform as well. Really just an important point about the data sources that Braz mentioned a little bit, but we do have curated sources. So we're curating our sources internally through our intelligencing and collections teams, but we're also doing that externally by working with our clients as well. So we're just really constantly working to ensure we have valuable sources and content and not just a fire hose of useless data. So with that being said, Braz, I'm going to go ahead and take control of the screen here.
Sounds good. And just for those of you that may not know, Braz is my nickname as Chris Brosnick, if you're wondering, but give you time to set up, Brett. There you go.
Can you see my screen? Good to go?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to start out by looking at an example of a maritime deep dive product that was created using the Seerist platform, and then I'm going to walk you through how that was created within the platform itself. So, Control Risks produces a global maritime outlook that's tracking key maritime threats and trends, as well as their potential global or regional implications. So, this one was created at the end of last year, identifying the main areas of concern for maritime threats. So including things like subsea sabotage attacks, which are highly, popular right now, as well as piracy events in the Indian Ocean and the Arabian Sea, and then looking at Houthi attacks within the Red Sea, right? So these are going to be great resources that you can leverage from the control risk team, and you can access them and export them right from the platform that I'll show you during the live demo, but just as an example of what you're going to have access to once you get into Seerist. And then moving into so we also have a team of analysts at Cirrus that are going to provide you with human in the loop information via what we call our verified events. So this team of analysts is going to be actively monitoring both security and maritime related incidents. And they're essentially working to create a extensive database of events that are going to be corroborated by, about 1 to 2 sources of open source information. So these events have been actually verified by human analysts. So they're going to provide you with an additional level of, veracity, validation, and accuracy for the event data in the platform. So They're also providing up to 10 years worth of data. So it gives you a very unique ability to look at historical data to gain some additional context, or if you're doing, a trend and pattern analysis for that maritime threat picture. So on the slide here, you can see examples of some of these human verified events that we were bringing into the platform, and these were concerning the initial, Houthi missile attacks on both merchant and naval vessels within the Red Sea. So you get not only the event descriptions, but you get a heat map of that event data, and then you can also see the verified event vessels by type here. So you can see cargo vessels was the largest attack vessels for those Houthis during that time period. Additionally, we're going to have events AI data, and this is going to be our machine generated content. So, as we mentioned before, we're bringing in a huge volume of data. And with things like entity extraction, as well as keyword and phrase recognition, our events AI model is going to be able to learn patterns in all of this data. And it's going to automatically categorize or bucket that content into 10 event themes and 23 sub event themes. So, just some examples of some themes that you're going to see are event filters. You're going to see everything from, conflict, unrest, crime, terrorism, transportation, weather, et cetera. But you can see some examples here on your screen right now of our events AI data that we're bringing in. And these are just tracking various maritime threat content for both news and social. So just some quick examples here. You can see this one, police are thwarting a hijacking of a Brazilian schooner on the Suriname River. You can see this is a news source, journalistic, and was placed into the crime event bucket. And then moving over here, you can see some of the social media sources we're bringing in as well. These ones were Twitter, and this one's tracking the conflict going on within the Gulf of Aden. So we'll get into more examples during the live demo, but just to show you kind of a couple examples of the events AI data we're bringing in regarding the maritime threat picture. All right. Also, we have a control risk global issues team. And I really like this product because it's looking at the impact maritime threats are having on the global supply chain, right? So it's going to provide you here with an in-depth and expert analysis piece. In this case, is interpreting how global events, like the Suez blockage, the Panama Canal drought, as well as the conflict in the Red Sea, and how they're impacting the maritime supply chain, right? So this product does a great job of just highlighting how these major events are going to be, in this case, impacting the weekly total vessel transits, and how things like, the great rerouting around the Cape of Good Hope was needed to avoid the Red Sea conflict, which had, obvious large scale implications on the global supply chain. I believe it added up to 14 days on average for transit time. So just a great product that's coming from the control risk team that you're going to have access to within Seerist, just to show you what maritime threats have on the impact of things like the global supply chain. All right, this is another great example, I think, of that threat analysis that we can get from control risk and leverage from Seerist. And this one's concerning the operational challenges for commercial vessels off the coast of West Africa due to the increased migration presence. So it not only describes the current statistics and the numbers associated with it, but what are the key drivers of that increased migration activity, and also the commercial impacts associated with it. So, like I said, great analysis content that you have access to and you can export right from the platform that highlights, the causes and effects of increased migration, in this case on maritime operations. So now we're going to transition a little bit. We're going to move directly into the platform so I can show you the real world applications of Cirrus that are currently being used by a lot of our Department of Defense and intelligence community clients right now. So we'll go ahead and transition here. All right, so we're going to start off with our events AI model, and we're going to look at the maritime threat picture and tensions within the South China Sea as our first use case. So as you can see here, we have the conflict event filter selected. All I have is just a basic South China Sea keyword location query just to refine my results a little bit here. So um, as I mentioned earlier, our events AI model is going to be filtering through all of that data. So it's now only showing me the content that's being tagged as conflict related within the South China Sea. So it's just a really quick way for me to eliminate, some of that information overload that you get from open source information. And it just easily filters my data with one click of the button here, right? So and at the same time, the model is going to be working in the background, and it's going to do things like automatically translate the data for you, geolocate it on the map, deduplicate the content, and then it's going to extract some additional things like the emotion and the sentiment associated with the content as well. So This events AI model is just allowing you to easily track and maintain, situational awareness within this whole maritime domain to monitor, important events or topics like, major military exercises, live fire drills, potential unlawful incursions, major maritime disputes. And it's also going to allow you to maintain that persistent watch or persistent stare. And you can do this through our alerting capabilities. So just to go through some examples of the data we're pulling through regarding the South China Sea tensions, right? You can see here Philippines military warning of escalating tensions due to Chinese Navy provocations. This is coming through one of the news sources that we bring in. You can see here another Philippine Navy patrol along the Scarborough Shoal encountered aggressive and unsafe movements by Chinese vessels. And then as I scroll down here, you can see some information coming in about military drills, as well as, just a lot of tension reporting. So if this is something you're interested in, like a lot of our clients are, you can maintain a persistent stare and track those emerging events, both in platform, and then you can create direct email alerts as well, like I have set up here, just as an example, right? So now I don't have to be logged into the platform. I can be notified directly to my email of any important events that I want to be tracking moving forward. All right, so another use case that's obviously been very popular is the Houthi conflict, right? And with the events AI model with simple keyword searches in our event filters, you're allowed to maintain persistent collection and situational awareness on this conflict to monitor Houthi attacks on any ships or vessels within these specific bodies of water, for example, right? So I have here Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Right, so I want to track any potential attacks on any shipping vessels within those areas. I'm also looking for any airstrikes or raids on major Houthi-controlled ports that would further impact shipping due to, potential Houthi retaliations, right? So as I go through here, you can just see some of the data that we're pulling in regarding this. There was just a major Israeli strike on Hudaydah, I believe, one of the major Houthi-controlled ports. So now that this strike's occurred, the Houthis have claimed they might close or try to close down the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which obviously will have, far-reaching implications on shipping in an already, conflicted zone. So just an example of some of the data that we're pulling in regarding the events AI model for this. But these are just really two solid use cases of how, Seerist's AI model is being used right now by the DoD and the IC to find and track specific maritime threats, as well as maintain a persistent stare to monitor for any new and emerging maritime threats within these areas as well. All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit now. We're going to go over to our verified events. So, as I mentioned before, verified events are going to be that human in the loop information from our analyst at Seerist. And they're going to be tracking these maritime threats around the world that are related to these topics that you can see here. So, everything from activism to theft and all these in between here. So really keep in mind, right, these are going to be highly beneficial for you because this team is going to be working to confirm the accuracy prior to reporting, right? So it helps you to avoid, false narratives or false alarms because you have the team of analysts that are going to give it the thumbs up before it makes it into the platform. So you can see here what the global outlook looks like for maritime threats, and this is since January. And what's nice about this is I can filter out just like I did with the events AI data. So if I was only interested, let's say, in attempted hijackings or actual hijackings, I could select those. It's going to repopulate the data for me. Now I can see the hot spots around the world where those events are occurring within that specified time range. And I also have the human generated or human created event descriptions as well. That's going to give me a detailed understanding of the actual event itself, right? So really great information that you can use. A good use case for this and what's been very popular within the DoD recently is tracking any sabotage or suspected sabotage events on subsea infrastructure or underwater lines of communication, right? So all I have to do is type in that keyword here, and you can see our team of analysts have brought in a couple significant subsea sabotage events within prior to January, right? So we had one major event occur off the coast of Taiwan. We had another major sabotage event where the Norwegian authorities detained the tanker vessel Sylvia Dania. and also another event where the Swedish authorities detained this bulk carrier Vetchen here. So three significant events of potential sabotage on subsea infrastructure. Obviously, a highly contested topic right now. So this is a very good one where you can use the verified events to maintain that persistence there, gain some additional context on that. And what's nice about this is you see this view details button here. So once I click that, I'm going to get some additional information on this actual event, including the lat long of the event itself. But now I can go down to similar content and I can tie in that control risk in-depth analysis to this event that I just found, right? So now I can understand, okay, what are the regional ramifications? Let me get some additional context on this actual event itself. So now I can see, okay, this is the event that occurred. Here's some details on the actual incident in the event. What's going to be the Taiwanese response to this event? And here are the sources they used, right? So you have access to all this in-depth analysis for the event that's easily downloadable, easily exportable, and you can copy it and add it to your report as well. So another example of that is, this is the big picture series concerning these subsea sabotage events, not just for Taiwan, but all of Europe, right? So Control Risk does a really good job of understanding how individual events impact that strategic picture and posture. So it gives you kind of that 30,000-foot view to understand what that looks like, right? So now I can see a little more information about the subsea sabotage events that are happening within Europe as well. A little more information about that. And what's nice about this is you're going to have all these nice graphics that you can add to your reports and your analysis as well. This one was the transit path of the Sylvia Dania, probably before it was detained by those Norwegian authorities. You can see some information about the increased coordination and scrutiny going on, specifically within Europe and NATO, trying to track these events, different tactics that are being used to do these subsea sabotage events. And then, the HMS Somerset here tracking the Yantar. And as most people know, the Yantar is one of the premier Russian intelligence collection ships. So increased tracking posture by coalition forces for that. And then some next potential targets that are being identified by the control risk team here as well. So a lot of great information available that you can use. As you find specific events within the platform from both the events AI and the verified events, you can really use these analysis pieces to gain some additional context and tie everything together for you right within the platform. All right, so moving on to the maritime outlook, I showed you within the deep dive report that we have those global maritime outlooks that are available each month. Really easy to find in the platform, available right under the search in the analysis section here. As you can see, I've just filtered out for maritime. So I'm gonna have all my maritime analysis, including the global maritime outlook for May. Just going to go ahead and hit view details. So now it's going to identify some key maritime developments and trends for me to watch out for over the coming months, right? So obviously the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, the Bab el-Mandeb is going to be continuously going to be a hot spot. So that's something you're going to be needing to keep an eye out for. But the Singapore Strait as well. So there's an increase of theft related or hijack related activities going on within the Singapore Strait that I was not aware of. So Control Risk recorded 41 incidents targeting underway vessels during this up to May, compared to 16 in the same period within 2024. So pretty significant increase as far as the theft-related incidents is going on in the Singapore Strait, which is something you should be aware of for that. And then another trend to look out for is within the EU Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Finland. This mainly concerns the Russians' Dark Fleet, which just means it's their commercial vessels that they're outfitting with intelligence collections capabilities to try to maneuver around unseen by coalition forces there. What's nice about this is, as I mentioned earlier, you have all this similar content that you can tie into each one of these trends and each one of these developments. So you can do your own deep dive right within the Seerist platform based on the maritime outlook here as well. All right, the last thing I wanted to show you in platform, I know we can't get to everything today, it's limited time, but I do want to show you this latest dashboard because it's a really nice single pane of glass that's going to tie in a lot of the important features within Cirrus, a lot of that we weren't able to get to today. But I want to draw your attention to our Discover AI feature here. So this is going to be identifying stories or topics that are generating the most chatter or have the largest event clusters to allow you to quickly identify and track significant events And you're able to filter it out both by tags and by event topic here. So the accelerating story in the news stories is really good because this is going to allow you to identify stories that are just starting to gain traction, right? So you can get ahead of the mainstream media's reporting on a lot of these, right? And I can also filter these by topic, right? So I'm just going to go to maritime here. And now it's going to give me not only the most largely reported maritime topics, it's going to give me some accelerating events and new events as well, right? So if I'm interested in any of these stories, I just go ahead and select that. It's going to provide me an automatically generated AI summary of the event, a timeline of the event, and then it's going to provide me all of that Cirrus data, both machine generated as well as human analysis concerning the event as well. So you can see here my AI reports being generated. So now I just get a quick understanding of the event itself and what that looks like over time. And you can easily download this and export this for your report, right? So you can track events, you can find events, and then you can see what that looks like over time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there so we can leave some time for questions. I know I'm running over a little bit, so.
That's all right, Brett. No, great job. Lot to cover in 18 minutes or so. So thank you for that. And just wanted to remind everybody before we take questions, we can continue this conversation with you. So please email us at info@seerist.com. You can check out our website. And if you'd like to get a copy of this recording, you can do that at seerist.com/opt-in. So with that, we're going to open it up for some questions. Feel free to type your questions in the chat. I already got a few that were sent ahead of time. So first one here while we're waiting for people to type in, Brett, is which data sources and analytic models does Cirrus use to identify maritime threats? I think you're on mute, Brett. You might have hit your mute button
Sorry about
there.
that. Yeah, no,
There we
that's
go.
that's that's a good question. I know we went over the news and the social sources, but we are bringing in maritime specific sourcing as well, specifically when we're trying to verify those maritime events. So we do have private subscriptions with databases like Lloyd's Intelligence List. We also have various freely available regional reporting bodies such as the MDAT as well, and then recap as well for Asia, and then UK MTO for the Middle East and the Indian Ocean. We're also using the IMO's GSIS system. And then we also Control Risk has various human sources, and they subscribe to various maritime news publications as well. So we're not bringing in, specifically like Iridium or AIS data at this point yet. We're looking to do that potentially in the future. But those are the main maritime sources that we're using specifically when we're looking to verify that maritime event data.
Great. And I see one in the chat. So let me address this from Chris Bell, retired Army SOF Intel signal intelligence guy with a 22-year background in counter narcotics missions, primarily in Central and South America. How effective is Cirrus with being able to follow a maritime vessel on the move in or near real time comparatively to tools like Windward or Elemental? I don't know if you're familiar with those, Brett, but
Not particularly, but yeah, like I said, we're not tracking vessels themselves. We're more tracking events that could impact those vessels, right? So we're not tracking AIS data or we're not tracking, any signals intelligence, right? But if if there's an event that occurs that's within the maritime threat picture, we're going to pick it up either through our news and social reporting or the verified events, right? Through our subscriptions with Lloyd List, through our partnership with the French Navy, with Control Risk, right? So there's a lot of different things that we're going to be able to pick up as far as the threat picture, or if there's an event that occurs towards that vessel, but not tracking the vessel as it's underway per se.
yeah. And Chris did respond. He said he thought you answered that with your other intro there. So thank you. Good point there. Another one that was submitted, I think we have time for a couple more here really quickly. How does Cirrus help with long-term risk planning for global shipping routes or port infrastructure security? Any thoughts on that angle, Brett?
There's a lot of different things you can do in the platform as far as static ports, right? So the same way that you saw I did it with, the South China Sea or the Red Sea, right? That can easily be transitioned over to a static port location where you can do, you can set up, we have assets that you can, set up an asset for that's going to track a specific location, and you can put a radius around that asset or that place of interest, and you can pull in any sort of threat data to monitor ports of interest, right? So if your vessel's transiting from port to port, let's say, I can have a running persistent search and alert for, any events that are going to occur within that port that could impact the threat picture. We can also, as was mentioned earlier, have an understanding for the stability levels of the countries that the ports are in and the cities that the ports are in as well. So you can monitor the specific threats, and you can monitor the stability of the country and the city that the port's in to kind of help plan that route out as well.
All right, perfect. Well, I know we're just over time here, so we'll leave it at that. But thank you, Brett, and thanks everybody for joining. Again, please reach out if you'd like to schedule a more in-depth personalized demo, info@seerist.com. And with that said, have a great rest of your week, everybody. Thank you.